Hi, my name is Thomas, and this is my main project. It is a self-driving car, and my first milestone was to control the car with an Arduino. And that's important because now, instead of having to rely on the remote control, I can now control the car with a computer, or with an Arduino, which means I can now control both the speed and the steering with code. So before, the way this worked was the receiver was connected to the servo and the ESC, and the receiver would receive a signal from the transmitter, and then the receiver would convert that signal into a pulse width modulation signal, which would then be sent to, again, the servo and the ESC for the steering and the throttle. But now what I've done is I've connected those wires from the servo and the ESC to the digital output pins on the Arduino. I'm also controlling that with PWM, so I can now control that with code instead of an analog signal from the remote control. And the way I did that was the Arduino has a library built in for servos, and you can essentially type in some value of degrees, and it will automatically set the servo to that number of degrees. So that's how I got the steering to work. So as you can see, when I turn this potentiometer, which I also connected as an input to the Arduino, the wheels turn. And then for the motor, for the ESC, there is no library for that built into Arduino, so what I had to do was I had to use a function in that library called write microseconds, which lets you write any value in microseconds of for PWM. So you can essentially have a custom PWM value. So what I did for that was I used the potentiometer. I mapped that to a few different PWM values, and then I used the potentiometer to try those out and find the correct range that controls the motor. So now when I turn this potentiometer, this orange potentiometer, the car should start driving, as you can see. It's not very precise right now, but that's just because of the potentiometer. And the potentiometers are not permanent. Those are only there for testing it. And then eventually it's going to be controlled by the Raspberry Pi, and it's hopefully going to be self-driving. All in all, this milestone was successful, even though it did take me a long time to find the correct PWM range for the motor. But I did learn how to use PWM and how to use it with the Arduino,